There has never been a more exciting time to think about the future. Door-to-door is a reality today, and everyone in our industry is promising that things will just get better. Better experiences, better services, better value. We've been speaking to some interesting people across the industry to find out, does it all make sense, or are we deluding ourselves about a golden age of seamless technology and interconnected cities? First up, with his list of grievances, UK commentator Simon Calder.
I can't get how travel is still so analog. It's all about these clunky things. There you are, getting on your 42 flights. I'm getting on my train. I'm with a piece of technology which is incredibly smart,
right,
which knows where I am, which can communicate with other people, and yet I'm still not getting the kind of seamless experience that I would expect.
Next, I spoke to the organisers of the Focusrite Travel Innovation Conference. Focusrite are one of the premier research agencies in the travel and expense domain. I wanted to get their views on when will this vision of the interconnected future actually arrive.
There's a lot of investment going on in that area. It's almost the last frontier. And so I think it is nearer than we think it is.
Nearer than people think, Tony?
Yeah, I agree. And so I think as more technology creates the opportunity to share the vehicles,
right,
you'll start to see that kind of proliferate, and then people will get more used to it.
Right.
And so I do think it's a shorter horizon versus a longer.
So it's coming soon, but who is driving this change? Kevin May of online industry news site T-News thinks he knows.
Maybe it's not the new guys that help create the vision, it's the travellers themselves. Yeah. Uber's been around and it's making the rest of the industry rethink ground transportation, which is fine. But this this connected part of it, I think, is actually going to come not from the suppliers or you say the traditional players like the GDSs or TMCs or whatever. It's going to come from travellers saying to their travel manager or their OTA or something like that, what really enhanced my trip is if X happens because my mobile phone can help me do that.
So the future we need is coming soon, driven by travellers. But isn't ground transport the missing piece of interconnectivity? Well, Indigo, one of the pioneers where ground transportation is concerned, gave us their views.
When you can turn and communicate with passengers on an individual basis and connect that to a server, which then connects to a dispatch system, which then connects to the driver, then you can start thinking about magical things. What does it look like when bus routes don't have routes anymore? What happens when bus routes don't have timetables anymore and they all adapt to where passengers need them to be? Right. Now, what would happen if we could take the GPS stuff from the bus, right, and take demand from a smartphone, right, and routing from where people needed to go, right, and instead of it being a driverless car or a black sedan or even personal rideshare, what would happen if that was a bus?
Right, right. According to Indigo, ground transportation is already on the path of innovation. I wanted to get a view from one of the world's largest car manufacturers, Ford, about what's going to happen to car ownership in this new interconnected world.
We think for certain trips, people will use the car less or only use their car for a short section of the total trip.
Right.
And then, of course, you will get this integration or this intermodality where then you change from your personal car to public transportation. And then maybe in the end, then you finish the last part of your travel either with a car sharing or a bike or some other form of personal transport. But then it needs to be fully seamless. It's for a lot of people also, which bus, where does the bus exactly leave? How do I get a ticket? Do I know it's actually going or not? Do I know it's on time? So if you get all that information on your mobile phone, on your handheld device, and you know it's all up to date and accurate, then this hurdle to get out of your personal car and use this intermodality and other modes of transport, that hurdle gets a lot smaller. Now, also, car ownership is not that important anymore. But what is important to me is mobility, to be able to get where you want and always travel where you want to go. And then travel in the most convenient and fastest way.
Right.
So whatever that mode of transportation is irrelevant to them.
For the next leg of our journey, I spoke to two pioneers of the already booming sharing economy, BlaBlaCar and Airbnb. I wanted to know, do business travelers really want to do advanced hitchhiking and come and stay in people's spare rooms?
We are now in 19 countries with a community of 20 million people. drivers and passengers sharing the cost and sharing the journey of their trips, which are a few hours long usually. So we're providing a digital way for everybody to optimize the costs and the usage of those empty seats. With ride sharing, we're able to connect virtually any city to any city. There are people going from city A to city B all the time. It's a very convenient way to travel around. It's a door-to-door solution most of the time.
More and more people are looking at their trips, both business and leisure, and asking themselves what it is that they actually want to get out of it. And they're looking for deeply personal experiences, and this doesn't really begin and end at the accommodation. I think it's incredibly important to think about how the user experiences the trip from booking all the way to actually arriving back home, and it's something that we certainly think a lot about, even though we're primarily focused on accommodation right now.
This new vision for cities being digital, interconnected, easy to navigate for residents and for visitors is compelling. But what do people who run those cities really think? I went to the second largest city in the UK, Birmingham, to find out.
We have to think about people's journeys, not just by one mode. We have to think about, well, where do they want to go to from door to door? Is it a local journey? Is it a longer distance journey? And how can we provide that sort of multimodal approach so that they can plan where they walk to, whether they catch a bus from, how do they interconnect with train services? Are there other cycle opportunities that they might be able to use as part of a whole journey view rather than just thinking about a journey in one particular mode?
Finally, where does all of this innovation leave the larger companies who have driven our industry for so many years? I went to speak to our friends at CWT to get their views on how they're adapting to some of these changes.
So suppliers that are going to thrive in this environment are going to have offerings that enable them to move more toward that kind of digital, innovative, enabled into the spectrum you described. And we're going to be there to help facilitate that, because that's what our clients want. And as travelers become younger and more technology enabled, first of all, they're going to have more and more visibility. They're not going to read about this stuff in the newspaper. They're going to get an alert from somewhere in real time telling them that there's an opportunity that fits their profile. So travelers are going to take us in that direction, or they're going to find providers or suppliers that enable what they are looking to do to make them feel good about their travel dollar. And we need to be there with them, and we need to be there early, and we need to be there often.
So those that are most adaptable to this change that, in your view, and mine, by the way, is already taking place, will be the ones who survive and thrive in the coming years?
That's what happened to the dinosaurs. They just didn't adapt.
Next is now. Innovate or die. Everything is becoming more and more interconnected. People, technology, and even cities. You can see the full documentary soon on KDS.tv.